your year. Make an old man proud of you. Forget about the tears on the level. See me eye to eye. Stand up like a man, even from the other side.
Hey everybody! Welcome to another MoGraph MoCast. I'm your host, Matt Milstead, and joining me this week, the Blender Man himself, Mr. Elijah Sheffield.
Hello.
And want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Otoy, for sponsoring the show. They are our universal sponsor. You know them, you love them. They're the makers of Octane Render and the Render Network. With Octane Render, you can make super photorealistic renders using the really quickly, super fast. And for that extra little boost of power that you need, the Render Network has you covered. They can render faster and cheaper than most other render farms out there. So make sure and check them out. Give them a shout out. Say thank you for sponsoring MoGraph.com and helping us create some cool stuff like the podcast and the website. And make sure and go sign up for the website, MoGraph.com. But we are here to talk to you, Elijah. How are you, sir?
Yeah, happy to be here. Doing great.
It's so funny when we first got introduced. EJ introduced us, and we went and had lunch together over at this absolutely killer barbecue place.
It was great, man.
And I didn't realize that you were here in Dallas. It's like, dude, we should have been hanging out this whole time, right?
Yeah. It was. That barbecue was really good. But yeah, that was a kind of a funny introduction for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dave says there is an echo. There is an echo. Why is there an echo? It's maybe... Why is there an echo? Is it me or is it Elijah? Elijah, say something.
Hello.
Here we go. This is week 2 of using Teams. Let's see. Wonder if... Ooh-wee. Seems to be gone now. Okay.
Seems to be gone.
All right. Well... We'll just keep going. I'm recording. It was during the sponsor thing. Okay, maybe that was the issue. Whatever. Maybe
it's your fault.
Yeah, it's probably my fault. That's okay. So yeah, that barbecue was really good. You know, I've been freelancing again with ABC, which has been great, and so I get my weekly Wednesday barbecue, which is great. We go to that place every week.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you go in office to freelance?
Yeah. So the nice thing, the nice thing about freelancing at ABC with where I'm at is that, I'm only 15, 20 minutes away from them. So it's not like I'm having to drive all the way downtown Dallas or Irving or something like that, like an hour something drive. It's literally just down the street, and it's all back roads. So I don't have to deal with any traffic.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's great being in the office. I really like it. And, Barton's really cool. He knows that we're doing the MoGraph stuff. So he's like, oh yeah, I leave at 10:45 on Tuesdays. I come do the podcast and then I log back in remotely at 1. So
sick. Yeah, that's a good setup.
Yeah. It's pretty nice. So, Elijah, so you're here in Dallas.
Yes, sir.
Do you work for a company? You're just freelance, right?
I'm just freelance. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like 60% freelance and 40% trying to get more into like the education side and more into like the like video production side.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Yeah. And are most of the clients you're working for are any of them local Dallas, or are they all just like, I mean, you were talking about Australia earlier, yeah. So like you're obviously worldwide.
Yeah, that's what they call me. They call me Mr. Worldwide. But no, I don't think any of them have been in Dallas. I'm trying to think right now in case there was, and I don't want to offend anybody, but no, I think pretty much it's all over the place.
That's cool.
So.
And so you're mostly working in Blender. You're completely working in Blender, right?
Exclusively.
Yeah.
Exclusively.
Now, when you and so for those who don't know, Elijah he just released a class on School of Motion. If you've got their School of Motion, all for one for all, whatever, I can't remember what they call it. You can go ahead and sign up for his course and go ahead and take that. I really like the idea of the course that you've got, specifically because it's more tailored towards 3D artists, and like it's more of the motion designy, almost cartoony looking ones versus like some of these photorealistic, more octane render stuff. It's a very distinct style.
Yeah, there are like people. I have some friends that use Blender to make kind of the photoreal stuff and like product viz, and they're killing it. I mean, they're getting really cool stuff out of that. But the problem is making a course for cinema users to come on over to like Blender. Unless it's like strictly a financial barrier. I mean, cinema's just going to beat that out with all the MoGraph tools and like Redshift. It's just going to get, beat down there. But for stuff like NPR or more stylized stuff, or specifically like character animation,
for sure,
Blender just has really, really good tools. And so there are like a lot of cinema artists or even some Maya artists that want to move towards Blender, but it's like just learning an entirely new language. And some people have been, 10, 20 years in their software. And the idea of coming on over without a guide is really intimidating. So that's what this whole project and whole course is like, hey, do you wish you were in Blender? Well, let me teach you. So,
and you mentioned, kind of like catering it a bit towards the C4D crowd, because, School of Motion has their C4D classes and After Effects and stuff like that. And After Effects and C4D, I've always felt like work really well together. Were you ever a cinema user, or were you like exclusively Blender from the beginning?
No. So I've talked about this before, I think, but I started with cinema and then went to grad school and got like baptized into Maya and ZBrush, and then I got out of grad school and I was like, Maya's kind of, no offense to anybody, Maya's kind of disgusting to look at.
It is.
Just the UI, kind of rusty. So I switched back to cinema, and I used cinema for a long while. And then there was this project that I wanted to be like respectful of company like property. I didn't want to use cinema on a personal project. So I learned Blender to do this one particular project. And then I just kind of like, I was dabbling with it. At that point, I was mostly still After Effects. I was mostly still 2D.
Oh, nice.
With a little bit of 3D. And then, EJ reached out and asked if I would do a Blender tutorial. And I was like, okay, guess I'm a Blender guy now. And then I started like using it more regularly to like give them tutorials and stuff. And I just learned it way more intensely than I did cinema, which I'm sure if there was an opportunity of like, hey, would you teach cinema? I'm sure I would get like way more in the weeds there.
Interesting.
It was just opportunity. And I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole. And now I love Blender. And it would take a lot to convince me to go back to cinema, because I really enjoy the workflow.
Is a lot of the work that you're doing currently all in Blender, or are you doing a mishmash of Blender, C4D, After Effects, like all of it?
So if it's like there have been a couple projects where it's like a team project. And I have to kind of, with some people, I have to kind of convince them like, hey, I can work into your like cinema or Houdini workflow. But then other projects, it's just me. And so they're like, okay, if you get it to look the way I want it, I don't care what you use. So, it's either agnostic or ambivalent, or I have to do a little bit of like convincing.
I feel like there's not so much nowadays as there was, say, maybe like 15, 16 years ago. But like, I feel like there's still this stigma with Blender, and even with Cinema 4D sometimes, where it's like, oh, you're a Blender user, like, that's not its power. You don't pay for it, therefore it's not real, or something, So I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. No, there is still a good amount of like discrimination, but I've found I don't that's such a strong word to use for something as silly as software preference, but
uh-huh.
I found it more in like the like lower levels of, and not to be, you know, disparaging, but some maybe entry level artists or people who are just not super active in the community. They seem to have really passionate opinions, but uh, aside from being silly and like joking, like EJ is always very aggressive about his software preference. But
Uh-huh.
essentially, you know, aside from something like that,
Yeah.
it's essentially nobody really cares. If you make cool art, you make cool art. Who cares what you use?
Yeah.
But it's kind of mid tier of like just kind of skating under the radar that they really get their pitchforks up for, you know, Cinema or Blender.
Yeah. It's funny because working at ABC, they have a lot, they're using a lot of stuff. You know, they've
Yeah,
got
I met a couple of Blender users while I
yeah,
was
yeah,
there.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we've got 2 or 3 Blender users, and they're mostly our guys who I say are like the royal R, not like, you know, I work there at all. But
yeah,
2 of the guys are big Blender users, and they do all their modeling or rigging or anything
it's
like
great for
that in Blender. So they're a big Blender and Substance stuff, and they'll prep
yeah,
a lot of the files. It's like you don't need Cinema 4D, you don't need Maya, you don't need Houdini, especially Houdini for modeling. I could only imagine, you know. But it's like
yeah,
they'll prep all the stuff and then they'll get it over to the rest of the team, and we'll either bring it into C4D and animate it there or do the entire thing. A lot of people are doing the entire thing in Houdini, you know. And so
yeah.
they've worked out a really good workflow. For me, it like the hardest thing is getting between Houdini and back to C4D, you know, because you've got just these massive Alembic files and stuff like that. You know, I don't know if when you're working with the team, whether you're having to deal with any sort of like bottlenecks because you're working in Blender and they're working with something else.
Yeah. The really I've been working on a project with Whammy, and there's been it's been like Blender to Houdini, and
Mm-hmm.
so I had to kick out an Alembic, and it was, I think it ended up being like 150 gigabyte Alembic,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I'm really sorry, dude. Here's your, you know, here's your massive file. Let
Yeah.
me send that over. But you know, whereas like if you kicked it out of something like Cinema or just, you know, purely Houdini, you could kind of get the Alembic a lot more compressed. But
Is
yeah,
that
it
actually
is
the
pretty good.
case? I would think that
I think
Alembics would be the same whether, but I don't
it's
know.
using different kind of data from what I'm
Interesting.
understanding. And again, we talked about this before. I'm not an engineer, and
Yeah.
so half of what I say, engineering wise,
Uh-huh.
is pure speculation.
Take it with a
But
grain of
so I
salt,
could just be
right?
lying through my teeth right now. But from what I understand, it's like kicking out like more like point data than is necessary.
Ah. So like yeah, okay, that makes sense because in Houdini you can specifically like you can say what data you want with it when you're exporting out like an Alembic. Like you can do like color data
So
or velocity or whatever. You can delete all of it and it actually saves you some stuff. Maybe with
yes,
Blender it's actually like just doing it all. I don't know.
yes, and sincere apologies if I'm just 100% wrong. So that's very possible and very
Yeah.
probable. But from my understanding, that's how it works.
Yeah. So, question for you. And this like this is really interesting to me, especially you coming from a C4D background going into Blender. Like, have you what are its downfalls in comparison to the two of them? And what do you like more out of Blender versus C4D? Which is just what's worse and what's better?
Yeah, let me make sure, you know, blender.org is not watching.
Right?
Blender is perfect and it has no flaws at all. No, the like MoGraph tools are just exponentially better in Cinema. I mean, it's like built for that,
Yeah.
so it's hard to like compete. And there are some third-party things that Blender has, or I guess it's not Blender. Some users
Yeah.
have kind of back-ended to supplement that. But
Have you tried any of those?
I have, and they're pretty good.
Okay.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They at least kind of feel more like Cinema.
Uh-huh.
there's always something. Using like a third party plugin, even though it might just make the tool work correctly, it always just feels a little bit dirty to me, and I
I
don't really know
get
why.
that. I totally
You
get
know,
that. Yeah.
maybe I'm just a snob, but yeah. No, I mean, aside from that, Redshift is just I miss Redshift quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that you can use Redshift in Blender, but I can't imagine it works the same.
Yeah.
And I think I even tried to get it one time, and I had to like jump through some hoops. I don't know. So that's one thing I miss. And then other than that, just kind of the worldwide MoGraph acceptance of cinema.
Yeah.
That's like you kind of do get a little bit of a stamp of eye narrowing when you say that you're a Blender user.
It's so interesting to me, like, because I don't get that stigma. Like, I could understand it maybe, 15 years ago or whatever, when it was just a little tiny thing, and a Blender user hadn't won an Oscar for best animated feature.
Yeah.
But it's like it's funny because they're just offering it up for free, like
I think it is the accessibility that makes it like I think you have multiple communities on one software, and the lines are a bit more gradiented than maybe with cinema, because you don't really have like a whole lot of cinema hobbyists.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Maybe a few, but the barrier to entry is
it's pretty high. It's
there.
Expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to pay for the software, and then you have to know how to use the software. And if you're not really making money off of it, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So that kind of narrows the community a little bit. Whereas Blender, I mean, you have everything from like super hobbyists, I just want to make a donut, to people like me that are like, I'm going to use this on a full-blown client project.
Yeah.
And so then you have people that kind of are not really connected to the community. They're just really connected to the Blender community. And there's some like infighting, and, you might get a Roblox artist arguing with somebody who works at Buck, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's a weird internal stress. And I think that.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Because you'll get all sorts of people, versus like, I guess like that pay barrier to entry, like stops some of the hobbyists.
Filters it.
Yeah, it filters it just a little bit. It's almost so I'm on Reddit, and I follow the subreddit r pools, like, because I have a pool, and like, whatever. When I was yeah. So, but you get like these newbies who come in and they're like, oh, why is my water green? And it's like, okay, we've answered this question 8,000 times, So it's like, I don't know. It's almost the same thing where it's like, you get a brand new person who maybe hasn't even Googled the problem, and they're like, oh, how do I do this? Versus like, say some like a Maya user or something, maybe they understand some of the concepts a bit better, or are students or something. Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I really feel
different communities for sure.
Yeah. I feel like the thing that I like about Blender now, I've opened it a handful of times, just to try out some stuff. But I love the fact that it's free, that's my favorite thing. I don't think learning should have a price tag behind it, and it's something that I appreciate about Houdini as well. If you want to, or what's the big Nuke, you can get Nuke, all these programs for free. You just can't use them commercially. If you want to use something, for a hobbyist or for learning or something like that, 100% it's free. And it's something that I appreciate, and allowing people to be able to use the full software, for free, not charging for it, is fantastic. Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's pretty affordable.
I think so. Do you find yourself having to go to plugins often? You said, You feel
Oh
dirty
yeah.
when you go to
Yeah.
plugins or something like that. But like for me, I only
Yeah,
use
but
maybe like one or
I'm in the
two
big thing.
plugins with C4D. I use the Grayscale Gorilla Studio and I use
Yep.
X Particles. That's it. You know. But like, what are your go-tos in Blender?
Yeah, my Blender is mostly plugins at this point. Like I said, I feel dirty, but hey man, if I can save 3 extra seconds by clicking a button,
Yeah.
I'm gonna save those 3 extra seconds. My go-to AutoRig Pro. I'm a big evangelist of AutoRig Pro. Love that. Quad Remesher
Yeah.
is awesome. It works, just like Cinema. And then I'm trying to think. There are a few more like just quality of life things that I use pretty often. I'm actually building a tool right now, so
Oh,
I'll
rad.
plug that. Yeah, it'll be called Sweet Buttons, and it'll be released in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it's essentially just a small suite of buttons that will save you approximately 2 to 3 seconds each.
Okay.
So that will stack up over about 100 years
Yep.
to save you close to 24 hours.
Well, there
so
you go.
That's great.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Where? Okay, so when you release that, where people gonna find it?
No idea.
Okay.
Yet.
Let me
Probably
introduce you
download.
to
Oh.
mograph.com. We allow, you have your
okay.
own store on mograph.com where you,
Really?
yeah, absolutely. No one knows this crap. I'm
didn't
sending
know
out
that was an
emails.
option.
I'm like, hey, people, go on there. It's better than all the other places.
Yeah,
It's
but you're
it needs
asking
the
people to read,
designs.
and
I know. That's
I'm a Blender user. I can't read. I'm illiterate. No, I will check that out. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that was a thing. I feel really bad not.
It's
knowing that's a
okay.
thing. My
It's
bad.
okay. You're not the only one. Like that, we need to do a little bit of a redesign on the site as far as like the way things look and like how you log in and stuff, because the site originally, I mean, we were originally just podcast tutorials and stuff like that, but we've, moved on to so much other stuff that it's like we need to make it pretty prominent what you're doing. Anyway, but
I'm
yeah.
on your website right now. Where are the?
So when
Where's like the storefront?
so when you
That might be why I didn't know about
That's
it.
funny. When you log in, basically there's a under your profile there's a become a vendor, and then once you sign up and put in all your Stripe information, then you can start uploading projects or products and stuff. So
Okay.
like mine, if anyone is curious about seeing it, go to mattmilstead.mograph.com and you can see I've got 2 products in there. One is like a 3D print STL file for Super Nintendo and Super Famicom game holders, and then
nice. Yeah.
some of the projects that I've done on our Thursday night streaming, I'll throw up there for people to be able to download as well, which is great because it's,
Yeah.
you can
Okay,
get them
cool.
for free. But yeah.
Well, I just signed up.
Well, there you
so-
go.
Okay, well then I'll answer your question there. It'll be on mograph.com.
Cool.
That's where you can go to get sweet buttons if you want to save 40 seconds.
Sweet. Yeah. All right. Yeah. As soon as it's uploaded, I'll add it to the newsletter, so it'll go out to our whole group. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll ignore the newsletter too. It'll be good.
Please
it's
don't.
cyclical.
Please don't. If you do, you wouldn't have seen yourself. You were on the newsletter
True.
yesterday, and the week
I-
before as well.
I actually only saw it because somebody sent it to
That's
me.
funny.
I'm just tattling on myself right now.
It's okay.
I don't think I was actually like subscribed to the newsletter.
Yeah.
I'm like very newsletter averse.
I get that.
I don't
I get that.
want newsletters,
Dude, you
but
know who's the worst?
if my face is gonna be on
Yeah.
it, I'll do it.
And that beautiful picture too. It's so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know what?
Professional.
You know what newsletter is the worst? Glassdoor. I don't know if you've ever signed up for job alerts from Glassdoor, but they are awful. They send me 800 emails a day just for like random jobs and stuff like that.
Well, maybe you want those jobs. You never know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I get from Nextdoor. The
Oh.
like it's kind of like Ring.
Yeah.
And it's always some lady just complaining about somebody else's cat
Yeah.
being in her driveway.
Yeah, I can't do
awesome.
I can't do Nextdoor because Nextdoor just it stresses me out. Like I don't
Yeah.
I like not being connected to the people I live around because I don't want to know how insane they are.
Honestly, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we are, it's this really weird, like insulated bubble
Mhm.
where like any activity in like the Ring social network or Nextdoor, all of it will be like again, when it's in like a mile radius, it'll be like, lost package. If somebody sees it, let me know,
Mhm.
stuff like, oh, my dog, or there's a dog in my yard. If somebody's doing it, stuff like that. You go outside the mile radius, and it's like, anybody hear those gunshots? And it's like, okay, that's just like a different world out there.
That's funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're in a nice area. You're over by the Arboretum and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you go south of 30.
Dox me there, Matt.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You live in the Arboretum, underneath the gazebo.
Yep, in the trees. Yeah.
That's
oh goodness.
Funny. Oh, so back to Blender. We're a motion design podcast.
Blender.
Yeah.
Yes. Blender. Of course.
So how long have you been in it?
2 years now.
2 years.
2 years,
Okay.
I think.
So that's not.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in like 3D, After Effects, all that other stuff? How long have you been doing motion design?
Now you're asking me to do math
Sorry.
live on air. Thank you for that, Matt.
Apologize.
Yeah, 9 years, nine
Okay.
years maybe.
Nice. Yeah. That's great.
I'm young.
Yeah.
I'm young.
Where'd you go to school? If you don't mind me asking.
I went to school, undergrad, a little school in Arkansas called Harding, and then that's where I'm from originally,
okay.
Arkansas. That's why I only have 7 teeth. But and then for grad school, I went to Savannah College of Art and Design.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's in Savannah.
So
Yeah.
right. So you love student loans.
Oh boy, do I!
Oh boy, do you? How?
None of my money is mine. So
I always say going to SCAD is like getting a medical degree. It's so expensive.
much less job.
Yeah,
security.
right. That's funny. How
It's like getting a medical degree and then the hospital's being like, I'll reach out if I have a surgery for you. It's like, oh, thank you.
That's great. Yeah. How was your time at SCAD? Did you like it? And what were you studying? Were you what I don't know too much about like the different degrees. All I know is one time I was in New York City at a bar with EJ and we ran into someone who went to SCAD for comic book art and he was still in student loan debt. He worked at the bar.
Yes, that does make sense. No knock to SCAD at all. I just want to get ahead of Matt Snyder on SCAD. I love SCAD. No, I went there for 3D animation.
Okay.
And I had some scholarships, so it's not
Nice.
like too horrible. I'm not gonna end up working at a bar in New York,
Right.
hopefully. At least not so far.
Right.
But no, it was great. It was I was there for a year before COVID hit, and then I had to pack all my items in the little handkerchief bundle, put it over my shoulder on a stick, and head home. So, but the time that I was there was really, really great. It's cool to be around artists. It's cool to be
Yeah.
around people who also want to learn. But yeah, very different vibe going from a small college in Arkansas to like
Yeah.
SCAD.
Yeah. I bet. What was the industry like or whatever in Arkansas? Did you go straight from SCAD to here to Dallas?
No.
What brought you to
I bounced
Dallas?
around a lot. A job.
Oh, okay.
A job. And so Alex Parker, who you had on
Last week.
Yeah. She actually, where she worked before she went freelance is where I worked before I went freelance.
Oh, rock
as well.
on.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, from Harding in Arkansas, I went to Detroit for an internship.
Oh, wow.
And then from Detroit, I went to SCAD. And then from SCAD, my parents moved while I was in college, which was super weird.
Yeah.
So then I moved to Lafayette, Indiana, which is like where Purdue is.
Okay.
And did not make any friends there. That's the one place I've ever been where I have 0 friends, but lived there for a year.
Nice.
And then moved to Asheville for a job animating breast pumps and catheters.
Nice.
So I'm an expert. And then from there, I moved to Dallas for this job. Then I met my wife and we got married, and her family's here. My family's in Oklahoma City. And so, yeah, I'm here for at least a while.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
How long were you working at that job in Dallas before you went freelance?
Man, you're just asking math questions.
I'm sorry, man.
2 years?
We can go back
No,
to Blender. What's your favorite node?
Not the math node, I'll tell you that much. Goodness. No, I think about 2 years. Yeah.
What is your favorite node? How do you like the because that was introduced within the past couple of years, right? The what are they called? What's it called? All the nodes where you can connect geometry nodes. Yeah.
It might have been added in the past few years.
Yeah.
It's been there since I've been
Oh,
in
okay.
Blender. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was native for me coming in. I love geometry nodes. I'm not as good at geometry nodes because it does require like a different, probably a little bit more left brain.
Sure.
And
That
I
math.
barely have a right brain. Yeah.
It's all math.
As soon as I see a number, I hit Command Q and just shut that down.
Go into the corner and just
Yeah. I hyperventilate, I call some friends, then I go back and I try to do it. No, my favorite node, that's a great question. It's got to be probably the mixed color node. I love the mixed color node and the shader editor.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with it.
One
actually just released a tutorial on it.
Okay. Where can people find your tutorials?
YouTube, sweetboy.motion.
Sweet Boy.
I think.
And it's sweet SWEET.
Yes.
Okay, not sweet like a hotel suite. No,
right.
It's Sweet Boy. Yeah.
That was the first running name for Sweet Buttons. The tool that I'm making was Sweet.
I like that.
It was a little bit much, so dialed it back.
That's funny. I was gonna ask you something. Oh, one thing that always bugs me about Blender, and maybe there is a way to do this, like materials, like being able to see a preview of materials, like in Cinema 4D, where I've got this whole list of materials and stuff, and I can just drag and drop, and like, I found that was a big hang up with me with Blender, is that all your materials are there, but they always feel hidden, and it's like, if I want to add something, I do a drop down and then I find the material I want. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you can change that. Yeah, I won't bore the audience who's probably predominantly not Blender with the specifics, but you can change that so that you can like preview them and see them. By default, you get a drop down and you get like 7 pixels of
right.
And if that's not enough for you, Matt, that's just too bad.
I mean,
but no, there is a way to preview them, especially using like the shader editor.
Okay. Yeah. See, I wish that was more default, because that's something that I really like about Cinema. And I know other programs have that as well. I think Maya has an actual like a texture preview thing. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, now that I hadn't really thought about that, but now that you say that, that does kind of seem like a pretty standard utility.
There's your next plugin, bro.
Remember what it's called and what it looks like.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, Blender is a big memory game.
It is. Yeah.
It's a great idea. I'm gonna jot that down.
You should,
actually
please.
Is a great idea. Yeah.
If you need
material,
if you need some funding, let me know. I'll help you develop it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. Funding is always good.
Right. But yeah. All right. Are you using third-party renderers, or are you a Cycles guy?
I just use Cycles now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so integrated, and something I really love is you can use Eevee as like previs, and then Cycles looks similar, just better.
Okay.
With like more light information and more tweaky stuff. So you can do all your previs and kind of get the scene like 80% of the way there in Eevee, and so it's all real time.
Yeah.
And then you just switch, or you can change just like your preview mode.
Yeah.
And now it's an actual render machine. And I use something called Render Street, which is like a render farm.
Okay.
And you can one button click it and it uploads and rips. So they have like a monthly subscription, which I really like.
All right.
But
we should get you on the Render Network, because for those who don't know, the Render Network officially opened up to the public Blender Cycles, being able to upload directly Blender Cycles projects and stuff like that. So yeah, you should definitely we should get you on that. I'll talk to people. I'll get you some credits.
Cool. Yeah, I need credits, funding, jewels. I'll take anything. Yeah.
So That's cool.
No, that's cool. I did not know that that they, and you said it was new, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Cycles is new.
they've had it in like beta for a while, but they officially just released it this past week, or like
Yeah,
yesterday,
hook
I
me up there.
think. So,
I'll definitely play test it for sure.
when you're switching over from EV to Cycles, is it more of like a, I don't know if you've used Octane before, but with Octane you've got the different kernels where it's
Yeah.
like here's direct lighting and it's pretty fast, but then you've got path tracing which adds more global illumination and you get a whole lot more light bounces and stuff. Is that similar to what it is, or like how much like extra work is there when switching over from EV to Cycles? Is it
Now,
drastic?
the technical question,
Yes.
no idea. But the the artsy answer to that is it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Especially like materials typically preview correctly. You can get real-time compositing, which is really cool. The only thing really that I think is a massive difference between the two is like the way that light wraps, and you can't have like direct gobos in EV without having to do some like cheating. I think they might have just added light linking to EV. Not entirely sure, but
Oh,
I don't know that
interesting.
light linking has historically been in EV. So there's like little things that it's like stuff that is really really helpful in cycles. You just can't do it in EV.
Yeah.
So I use EV to get it like pretty close, and then I finish in cycles, and so I can really check it like very very fast. I hold Z and go up with my mouse, and it's done. But then once I know that it's looking okay, I can get like a general feel of the scene back in EV. And so I usually work with two windows of like my viewport and then EV, and then I'll
Yeah.
switch it to cycles back and forth, and
Interesting.
it's pretty good.
That's really neat.
Yeah,
That's a fun workflow, you know?
it's pretty nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a result guy. I don't like working really hard and like hope this looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm a eat the icing before the cake type of guy.
Yeah. And is there a certain amount of uh is there certain things that you kind of learn as you're going along? It's like, okay, Evie can't do this, so I've got to hold off until the end, or
Yeah, yeah,
like
for sure.
certain bottlenecks that Evie just won't do.
Yeah, definitely. There are definitely those things that are like, okay, cool. The HDR looks great in Eevee, so like I know it's gonna cast those shadows. I know the general, light direction from Eevees. Then it'll be the same in Cycles, and then it's like, okay, cool. Now I have to go to Cycles to actually add in my lights
Okay.
to make sure they look correct. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you'll stick basically with an HDRI first in Eevee and then do your light stuff all in there. That's cool.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good workflow.
Yeah.
What's a lot?
I've done stuff in Eevee where I'm like, okay, I'm going to this project. I'm only going to use Eevee,
Yeah.
and I get like 14 minutes into it, and I'm like, nah, I'll use
Nah, I
Cycles.
want it to look good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
It
doing it.
happens sometimes where in Octane where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to use direct lighting. I just need this to be fast, but then
Yeah.
I'll switch over and it's like, path tracing just looks so
It
much
just looks so
better.
much
Yeah.
better. Yeah,
All
it
right. I'll
really
throw it
does.
up to the
It really
render
does.
network. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Have you found any issues working in Cycles versus say something like Redshift? Are there things from like Redshift or Octane or some other, a more accessible render engine, or cross-platform render engine that you wish Cycles had?
Um, just honestly, the way that it like handles glass is like a
Yeah.
really big one, and there are ways to get around that and to like kind of brute force it into behaving. But by default, I mean, Redshift I think just looks better with that.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course Arnold, you just can't beat it
You
for
can't.
physical accuracy.
Yeah.
Um, but Cycles is just so fast.
Yeah.
It's like it's unbelievably fast, and the way that it like denoises stuff and it just has everything built in, it's really user friendly,
Mm-hmm.
which I like, and doesn't take a whole lot of coercing to get like a good image out of the box.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I can do more than one task on my computer with a render preview, which I'm not really experienced being able to do that with Redshift.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I have like Adobe After Effects open,
Yeah.
then Redshift immediately kills itself and jumps off.
Interesting,
offline, so.
because you're a Mac guy, right? Like,
I am,
yeah. See, I had that issue a lot when I was on PC, but since switching over to the Mac M1, I've found that I've been able to be in both Cinema and After Effects at the same time.
Okay, so my view might be antiquated then, because I don't think I've used Redshift since I've been on Silicon.
Oh, never mind. I'm not using Redshift often. I'm mostly an Octane guy, you know. Anytime I can get away with Octane, I will use Octane, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So, anytime I'm on a PC, I can't do it. So.
Yeah, it chugs a little bit. And then, like, forget about previewing things while I'm, like, also recording.
Right.
With, like, OBS things. Nope.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
So you mentioned compositing inside of Blender. Talk to me about that, because I only have a small inkling of that being possible.
Yeah, so they have like a internal compositing, and it's node based as well. And so they have, I mean, it's your typical compositing stuff. You can change like different components of like different layers of your render. If you're doing like a multi-layer EXR, you can do different passes and like adjust that stuff. And so pretty much every operation that you do inside the compositor will be visible in the like preview, like the live preview.
Okay.
Which is super cool. So they got rid of the like the one-click bloom button to like get some bloom in Eevee, and now that's like a compositing option.
Okay.
So you have to like composite that in like Z depth if you're using compositing to like get your depth of field, like all of that reroutes back into the like live feed, which is super cool.
Yeah. And so then are you rendering out a multi-layer EXR and then taking them into After Effects? Are you doing the compositing inside through nodes, and then your master render is just going to be everything that's composited together?
I err on the safe side. I don't want to just have something just all mashed together. So if I know that there's going to be like client notes, or I know I'm myself going to want to like fuss with some things, I'll just do a multi-layer EXR with all the passes that I need, and then I'll just do it inside After Effects. If it's like the shorts that I do, like the little things, I'm just doing it quick. So it's like I'll render it straight out as like a PNG sequence, and then like do some like post color on it, because I don't love Blender's color space. I don't think it comes out looking great.
Are they in Aces?
Yeah.
Are they using Aces?
All kinds of stuff. I'm
sorry.
That's another
was that too much?
Yeah, keep it to like crayons and like the basics.
What's your favorite Pantone color?
That's too much. Ask my favorite.
Okay, sorry.
Crayola,
What's your favorite hexadecimal color? F.
Oh no, that's even worse. We're back to numbers,
right? You know, I learned an interesting side note while at camp last year. We had an instructor who was teaching people how to figure out what the actual RGB values of the hexadecimal is, you know, because so basically it's 256 colors, right? From 0 to 255, 0 to 255, 0 to 255. So using hexadecimal, it starts off 0 0, so it's 0 0 0 1 0 2 0 3 all the way up to, once it gets to 10 or whatever, then it's like A B A C, right? So depending on where it is, the first two numbers is your R, your second two numbers is your G, and your third two numbers is your B. So your RGB. So from 0 0 to FF, you know, is from, you know, from white to black or whatever, or vice versa, right? You know, so it depends on, so if your first two are FF, if it's FF 0000, that's 100% red and 0 green and 0 blue, you know? So if it's
that's really cool. I didn't know that.
It's so funny. Like I was just like, who knows about the hexadecimal, whatever. But it's like once you realize, it's like, oh, okay, this is easy, you know?
Yeah, that's one of those pieces of information that's super cool. But I'm like, what do I do with that?
That's really cool,
It
bro,
felt like
but
I've
I
been
don't know what
busted
I'm
out
gonna
at a
do with that
party.
information.
Yeah. You know, there's a lulling conversation at a party. I'm like, hey guys, how hexadecimal works. You know what I mean?
Do y'all want
I
to
don't
know the
know.
hexadecimal code for purple? Let's see. It's a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, not as much green.
Let's do some light calculations here, guys. Welcome to the party.
Oh man, that's funny. That's some nerd stuff right there.
That's great. No, I mean that's good to know. I had no
Yeah.
idea. It's really interesting.
Is there going back to the compositing stuff? Is there anything similar to After Effects inside of Blender, or is there an NLE, a nonlinear editor, inside of Blender as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, there is. There's also like an NLA editor. I don't remember the exact name of it, but I just started using it. I'm sure there are people who are like way better at it, but I love that. I think it's the coolest thing. Like I had to like animate a little character who was like walking, and then he's hey, and then he like keeps going, and rather than having to like go like animate the whole frame, and you can do this in Maya. You've been able to do this in
Yeah,
Maya
you
forever,
can do it in Cinema
you know,
too.
animate the whole thing, and then do another little strip, and then combine them and change their blending mode. That's the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's similar to motion clips in Cinema.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't think I ever got that deep into Cinema having to use motion
Yeah,
clips.
that's okay. Yeah, so I've done, and that's I'll do that with, I'll use Mixamo a lot for motion clips. You know, so I've done a lot of work for an old Vine person. He's now TikTok and YouTube. His name's David Lopez. Anytime he has like a 3D character that he needs to bring into his space, I'll find a 3D character or model it, and then do the T-pose in Mixamo, bring the T-pose back into Cinema, and then just download all the clips that I want, put them into motion clips and stuff like that. And it's great. Like,
I think that's probably the most common use of that is like Mixamo or like those other things for sure.
Yeah.
I'm utilizing it right now with a project, and I'm having I won't breach NDA, but I'm having a like a grid of bones essentially like moving in different orientations, and there are moments where they need to like continue to move, there are moments where they need to be quiet, and so I've built a whole bunch of actions in these like strips, and so then I can just kind of blend them all together, and it's kind of like playing a video game. You're like, okay, now jump, you know, now swing your sword, that kind of thing. And so it's been a really cool experience getting to like use that in a little bit less commonly.
Yeah. That's super cool. That's fun. I love motion clips and NLA, you know, like you're saying, like
whatever the name is.
Whatever, yeah. It's super fun. Like, and being able to, because you just feel I'm not a character animator. It's which I have a lot of character animation on my demo reel. I'm not a character animator. You know, I understand the basics of it and like how to rig and stuff like that, but like it feels really good when you're able to get something that feels very realistic and very well done, you know, pretty easily using motion clips and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I would not really consider myself a character animator, and I'm the same thing. I think pretty much everything I've done has a character in it, but it's I don't really care for it. It's not like my bliss. I'm not like the best in the world. I usually do it like I animate on twos because it's just like a lot cheaper and I can kind of brute force it. But I'm the same way. I'm not. I have a lot of character work, but I'm not a character animator.
Yeah. That's funny. And the plugin that you use, there's, what is it? Autorig Pro?
Autorig Pro.
Yeah. How's that? Is that what you're using for most of your rigging stuff?
Yeah, almost exclusively now. Yeah, it's great. You just set up your little smart guides. I mean, it works like pretty much any like auto rig software, but you just set up your little smart guides, and then it kicks out a rig, and then you can, you know, kind of tweak the rig pieces, and then you skin it to it. Its skinning engine is really, really good. And then from there, you know, tweak it. And pretty much every iteration that's ever had like a problem for me, I've been able to kind of reach out and get some support like that. So that's huge to me as well. but yeah, Hardwick Pro is just really clean.
Are
It's
you
really, really
are
good.
you now there's a paid tier of
Mhm.
Blender, correct?
Yeah.
That
Kind of. Yeah.
yeah, like
It's more of like a do you want to wear a Blender hat type of thing. It's not like do
okay.
you want premium features? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like you get better features from Blender with it. You get access to their like project files from their shorts, and
Okay.
you contribute to their cause. I am a subscriber because I feel like I'm making money from it, so it feels a little bit like moochy to like
Sure.
not
Yeah,
pay a
yeah.
little bit of money. Um, but yeah, I don't really get anything crazy out of it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How have you done any? Okay, so you're building a plugin specifically for
Mm,
Blender for the stuff.
yes.
And how exactly does that work? Are you actually having to code it, or are you hiring someone to code it for you? Or
Yeah.
okay.
I am sitting at the throne of ChatGPT, cracking a whip,
Uh-huh.
um, and screaming more, and then
More.
yeah, and then handing it off to some people who are smarter than me.
That's
So,
funny.
like I said, not an engineer,
Yeah.
but I am overseeing the whole thing, and being really careful with the way that it looks, it performs. Um, I like I hate to like out myself. I like guns. I'm kind of a gun nut.
Okay. I
Just
mean, you're from
novelty.
Texas, you're from the South. It's okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But something I love just as like a design kind of philosophy. I love the Colt 45 Peacemaker
Okay.
because it's essentially like 4 or 5 components, and you can drop it, you can throw it, you can put it in water, you can take it out, and it's not going to really jam. It's not going to have any problems. It is so solid that it's almost like you have to be really trying hard to break.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a cool like design philosophy, especially for something as if you're a cowboy. I mean, a
Yeah.
gun is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But for a Blender user, if you're using a tool, you don't want it to you know die on you for no reason and then not be able to get support on it. So
For sure.
that is kind of the design philosophy with this, is making something so bulletproof and really robust so you can really try hard to break it, and it's gonna be pretty resistant to user error.
I like that philosophy. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So yeah, you're getting someone else to kind of build it and stuff like that, or Chat GPT and stuff. That's cool. So there are they? Do you know if they're having to code it through like C++,
Python.
Python? Okay, cool,
It's
fun,
all Python. Yeah.
very cool.
Blender actually has like a native like input, Python input, so you can code directly in Blender, which is cool.
Interesting.
And then you can save the tool out and package it and export it. So
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
it's
I
pretty
know.
nice.
I know.
Yeah, it's
C4D
it's
has
built to
something.
like reward that.
C4D has something similar. Like it's got a Python. Like you can write Python code in there, and then, but I don't know if you can export it directly to. You can export as an executable script, but maybe not
Yeah.
directly. Yeah, I don't know. All right, cool. So
Yeah,
what did
it's
you?
really
What
interesting.
did you?
That's again, it's so far above my head, but
Yeah, yeah. What was your? I don't know. Like, you've worked in all of them. You've worked in Maya. You've worked in C4D. You've worked in, Blender. Uh, what's what do you miss from Maya?
what do I miss from Maya?
Mine is
The
I
UI.
really loved
No,
I really loved modeling in Maya. My modeling in Maya felt really native to me, versus C4D felt a little clunky at times. And I loved their chamfering tools. Their chamfering tools were just awesome. Yeah, the
yes.
chamfer was great.
I think that is probably of course Blender's modeling tools are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get like murdered for this. Like now that, especially since you've doxed me, somebody will show up at my
Sorry.
house. But I like Blender's modeling tools way better than I like Maya's, and I really liked Maya's, which is saying something.
Yeah.
But I also miss I can't remember what it's called, but having like a log of your actions and like the freeze transform stuff. Just having that all like readily available to
Yeah.
like see and edit. I think that was really cool. What is that called?
I don't know.
Transformation history? I can't remember,
Maybe.
but that was a cool feature as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something? Is there something you miss about cinema? Other than, I guess, the MoGraph tools.
Text. Yeah, MoGraph tools,
Yeah.
text in Blender kind of is not maybe the best.
Really?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not great.
All right.
I've been pestering a buddy to build a tool for better text. So maybe he'll get into that. So I'll have to manipulate it
Where
more,
does
but
Blender
we'll see.
shine? What is the thing that you will not stop talking about, other than its price?
Cat movies.
Cat movies. I know, right? I watched that on the
It is
plane.
really good.
I went to London a couple weeks ago, and I was I was on the plane, and that movie was available, so I watched the whole thing. I didn't actually listen to it because there was no dialogue or whatever, but it was a good movie. Like it got me into it, and it was short, and sweet, and it was very different, but I liked it. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, that's kind of the way that I felt as well. It's like the music was really great and the sound design was nice too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just kind of an easy watch of like, okay, yeah, I'm down with this.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Blender shining. Anything NPR, it's gonna just do really, really well. It's got grease pencil and all kinds of great stuff.
Yeah.
And character rigging is pretty good. Character animation is pretty good. And just like iteration and speed, you cannot find another program that will match that.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah. Matthew in the chat says, have you tried B4D tools for Blender?
Yes, that's what I was referencing previously. I guess I should have shouted them out, but truthfully, I kind of forgot what they were called. So thank you, Matthew H. But yes, they are very good. They feel very similar to Cinema's MoGraph tools.
Interesting. Yeah. And do you know if they do they have like fields and stuff like that? Because that was the one thing that I was looking at when I was considering moving over to Blender at one point, but it's like I didn't really know if they had like field operators and stuff. And if they do, it's probably not to the extent that Cinema has,
It's not like a slider. I don't now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think they have fields. I'm looking it up. But I what? Okay, it is. I'm getting digital dentistry when I type in B4D.
Oh, weird.
So if you need
digital dentistry,
go to B4D. No. Yeah, I don't think they do have fields. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a minute since I played with it, and I haven't used it in a practical setting.
Yeah.
But I'll say that I've not used it in the wild. I've only used it to like play around with stuff and break things.
Yeah.
But fields doesn't exist, but there are ways, and that's the thing with Blender just in general. It can do pretty much anything. You just kind of have to be a little bit crafty with it, and sometimes, especially with like shader nodes or geometry nodes or whatever, you might just have to kind of brute force your way through it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, with the introduction of geometry nodes, it's like it's almost like they open the back end to be able to do whatever they want, and they saw a lot of users. I would assume they saw a lot of users moving over to Houdini, and they're like, let's see if we can get some of that, or because I guess maybe the difference between, like, say a company like Maxon or Autodesk, where they're like, okay, well, we're going to listen, but we're also going to do the things that we want, like, Blender, I feel like they're probably a bit more focused towards the community and what the community is asking for.
They're very in tune with the community.
Yeah.
They really are. They're very good at that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but yeah. All right. All right, well, let's get out of here. I got to get back to work. But Elijah, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you, both online or your tutorials and everything?
Yeah, tutorials, YouTube, sweetboy.motion. Everything else right now, Instagram. I don't have my website up because I'm super lazy. So Instagram, sweetboy.motion. Follow me there, and keep up with whatever we're doing. And sweet buttons. I almost called it Sweet Tools because that was a old thing. Sweet Buttons will be out in the next couple weeks, so hopefully,
rock on.
That'll get some turnout
on mograph.com. We'll let you know.
On mograph.com. That's where it'll be. All right.
Awesome. Cool. Elijah, thank you so much for being on the show. I don't have any of my notes up. I should have had my notes up. But thanks to everyone for watching. Make sure to follow us on all the socials. We've been doing our weekly Thursday live streams. We actually got our project into Unreal this past week. So for the previous few weeks, we've been working exclusively in Cinema 4D in order to come up with our actions and stuff. But I was really excited. We got everything into Unreal, and this next week we're planning on making our character move around and stuff like that in Unreal. Elijah, we're building a video game. In both Unreal and Nest Maker. So we're building the same game in a current day processing thing and an old NES maker. So
dope.
So that'll be fun. So yeah, make sure and follow us there. And if you don't have a mograph.com account, make sure to sign up online, mograph.com. It's a one-stop shop for all an artist needs. And reach out to Elijah if you have any Blender if you have every Blender question, make sure and ask him.
As long as it's not math,
right,
or anything specific.
Awesome.
Keep it very general, and I will answer. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great. Okay, so until next time, I am Matt, and you are
Sweetboy.motion.
Awesome. Later, yo.
Yeah.
Pretty good, I guess.